Thank you to my newest patron, Thomas Lynch. I appreciate your generosity, and as always, you can reach me with any questions or concerns via Patreon PM, Minds.com, or Twitter at @HelpingHandForMe. Every dollar helps, every dollar is appreciated, and every pledge of $10 or more will earn you a permanent spot in my video credits. To all others who would wish to support this channel in a different way, my horror fiction anthology, Pleasant Nightmares, is available now via Amazon Kindle and in paperback. Links in the description. So, about a month ago or so, I came across this video from a channel by the name of Pero-like, an entire channel dedicated to the clearly never-ending topic of what it's like to be a Latino, and watched by just shy of 660,000 people who are apparently entertained by this tripe. Yet, for some reason, this particular video only seems to exist on their Facebook page. Link in the description. Some might call it low-hanging fruit, and I would agree, but I was desperately in need of a distraction, and dragging this human potato over the coals sounded amusing to me. So let's hear what he has to say, because it's super serious business, you guys.
When you say my name, say it right.
Did you just clap at me, you prick? Okay, now see, when you do that makes me care even less than I did in the first place. In fact, it makes me want to say your name horrendously wrong just because I know it pisses you off. I gotta tell you, man, you're already pushing the wrong buttons. You're definitely purchasing more troll comments than sympathy, and I'm only 3 seconds into your video.
Growing up, I hated my name. I hated that it was in Spanish, I hated that it wasn't white, but mostly I hated that I gave other people the permission to make me feel this way.
First of all, did you just say that your name isn't white? Alright, put a pin in that statement because we're definitely going to come back to that in a bit. Second, you didn't give anyone permission to make you feel this way. Offense is taken, not given. Just from the way you're talking about this, I can already tell that you take offense whether offense was intended or not. Every single time.
But after years of being the punchline in this or that racist joke, I now know that my name is pretty damn great. Me llamo Pablo Antonio Valdivia. Not Pablo, not Valdivia, not Paul Anthony, not Paco, not Pancho, and definitely not Pablo Escobar.
Okay, Pablo, let me tell you something right up front. I can say your name, Pablo Antonio Valdivia, just fine. Do you know why? Because even though there's not a drop of Spanish or Latino blood in me, I live in a part of the country where I grew up around Latino friends with Spanish-speaking families. To the point where I can't exactly speak Spanish, but if it's spoken to me slowly enough, I can sometimes pick out enough words that I can generally understand what you're saying. I'm probably not as adept at it as I used to be, but then again, I'm not in school anymore and my local peer group isn't nearly as large as it once was. But growing up that way was just enough to more or less know how a Spanish name is supposed to be pronounced if I see it spelled out. Which I can guarantee everyone watching right now, that is exactly what you take issue with when you say Pablo and Valdivia. Many people in this country were not raised in the same kind of environment I was, and aren't as familiar with Spanish names as I am. And even those who are can still get it wrong every now and then, because even if you understand the sounds of the various syllables in a Spanish name as you read them, you still can't necessarily tell where the stresses go on those syllables. Which is going to change to one degree or another how the person reading it is going to pronounce it on their first attempt. And your name is a perfect example. Forgiving the fact that no one is going to try to impose the cringeworthy forced accent that you used when you pronounced your name, because you'll undoubtedly call them racist for trying if they're anything other than Latino, even if they absolutely nail it, this is your last name spelled out, Valdivia. And this is your name chopped up into its component syllables, Valdivia. Now, here is where you and I put the stress in your name, but that isn't immediately indicated just by looking at it, and the only reason most people would be certain at all would be because they heard it spoken before they saw it spelled. But if a person reads it first and isn't sure because they never heard it spoken before, then they're either going to guess, or they're going to make a comparison to a name that they have heard with either the same syllable or a similar sounding one. A name like, for instance, Mencia. This joke-thieving piece of human garbage has the stress on the second syllable of his name, C, which is similar to your V in both its pronunciation and its subsequent syllable, A. If most of the names they've heard in the past with that sort of syllable arrangement sound more like this name when spoken than like your name, then their guess is most likely going to be to put the stress on that second to last syllable. And in any of the several American accents out there, that tends to change how the syllable that is supposed to carry the stress in your name will be pronounced, because the long vowel sound E will be shortened as either I or which sound nearly identical when spoken without a stress. Hence, Valdivia. What you are taking issue with right now is regional accents. And again, that is easily detected by the way you pour a forced accent over your name so thick that I could dip my corn chips in it like spicy, spicy salsa. You cannot expect everyone you encounter to say your name this way, even if they do understand how it's pronounced. Because if we're going to eliminate double standards, that means that I get to break the balls of every person out there who actually speaks with the accent you used when they opt to pronounce my name as Aaron, even going so far as to roll the R in a way that I just can't and never could. Is that the world you want to live in, Pablo? Where people get their panties in a twist over the most trivial of things even when no offense was intended? Let me guess, you also accuse white people of cultural appropriation on a regular basis too. Especially when they're eating tacos on flour tortillas.
Tacos! Hot tacos here! Oh, are those tacos? You better believe they're tacos! I love tacos, especially on a corn tortilla. Oh, I love tacos on a corn tortilla!
And as for the other ridiculous examples in that list of mispronunciations, first of all, what the hell is this look? As if to say, oh my god, this happens all the time, you guys. Listen, Pablo, I guarantee you that the only reason most people you come in contact would even think to call you Pablo Escobar is because of the popularity of Narcos on Netflix. And the vast majority of people out there who would call you Pablo Escobar, Paco, or Pancho are doing it to fuck with you. Do you not understand that? Because you've made it clear that you're such a touchy douchebag when it comes to the pronunciation of your name that they no longer care if they offend you. All they want to do now is make fun of you. And the one who calls you Paul Anthony, he's the only one who even cares to meet you halfway. Because you've probably thrown so many tantrums at him that he chose to use the English equivalents of those names instead, since he can pronounce those to within the satisfaction of such a hair-splitting crybaby who makes mountains out of molehills.
My name is Power. It represents my brown skin, my parents who gave it to me, and my ancestors who fought to keep it alive.
No, Pablo, your name does not have power. I can't be granted backstage access at a concert because I know
Pablo Antonio Valdivia.
I cannot get a parking violation erased because I know
Pablo Antonio Valdivia.
I cannot get an automatic +1 status to a black tie political fundraiser because I know
Pablo Antonio Valdivia.
When you say your name has power, what you mean to say is that your name isn't white and is therefore magical, beautiful, and deserving of celebration. But here's the thing, Pablo. This is Pablo Carreño Busta, a Spanish tennis player. This is Antonio Gamoneda, a Spanish poet. And this is Pedro de Valdivia, a Spanish conquistador who, in all likelihood, fucked one of your ancestors, forced her to speak his language, and probably forced her to take his name.
I'm from Spain. We will have sex, and you will speak my language.
So your name does not represent your brown skin, because chances are the person first named
Pablo Antonio Valdivia
probably looked more like this than he did like this. And your ancestors who fought to keep it alive were the children of people who were most likely subjugated and tortured until they accepted that name in the first place. So which is it, Pablo? Are you proudly celebrating the white culture that gave you that name? Or are you taking it from that white culture on behalf of your brown culture? Because that's cultural appropriation, buddy. Didn't you know that?
So remember, when you say my name, say it right, say it with purpose.
My only immediate purpose in saying your name is to address you as I point out what a dumbass you are.
Say it with pride.
Why would I have pride in your name when it has nothing to do with me, my culture, or my ancestry?
Say it with joy.
Oh, I'm definitely saying it with joy, Pablo. I am all smiles over here as I happily explain to you the history you think you're so proud of, yet don't understand in the least.
Say it like you want yours to be said.
I don't care how you say my name, Pablo. That's the difference between you and me. It doesn't bother me. Do you have any idea how many people have called me Aaron since that Key and Peele sketch?
Why didn't you answer me the first time I said it, huh? I'm just asking, I said it like 4 times, so why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
Son of a bitch! You done messed up, Aaron! Now take your ass on down to Oshag Hennessy's office right now and tell him exactly what you did.
Do you know how many people have misspelled my name because of the common female version from a completely different language background? I take it in stride, because unlike you, I've never cared about my name. I define who I am through my actions, my interests, and my perspectives. And it seems to me that there's nothing about you that's personally redeemable, so you need to create an identity built on false pride in a cultural history that you evidently don't understand.
Say it like it's the last thing you'll ever say, because it's the least I deserve. It's really not that hard to pronounce.
Like it's the last thing I'll ever say? Is that supposed to be a threat, or are you just trying to sound deeper than you actually are? And honestly, you just made the pronunciation of your name a bigger issue than it actually is, and a much bigger issue for you than it ever was. Because I guarantee that you were flooded with troll posts for this entitled rant of yours, and you deserve every last one of them.
And to anyone who feels the same way, don't let anyone tell you that your name isn't brilliant, strong, and magical. Your name is your name, and anyone who isn't pronouncing it correctly isn't trying at all.
Exactly. They're not trying at all, Pablo. Because in order for them to try, first they would have to care. And the best way to make sure that they don't care is to badger them over it every time they mispronounce it, even if it was an honest mistake. You have turned yourself from a person they might potentially want to know into a bleeding heart, victim card-carrying, moral busybody that they almost definitely don't want to know. And if they don't even want to know you, then why would they give two shits whether or not they pronounce your name correctly? They're much more likely to mispronounce it just to piss you off. And if they're doing that to your face, I promise you they're doing it 10 times more behind your back. Get over yourself, grow a personality, and stop placing so much importance on your name. And moreover, treat people as you would want to be treated. Because if you behave like an entitled prick, that's how the rest of the world is going to treat you. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here, have a look at my other videos and leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you support my message, then please like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to help this channel improve, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook with any suggestions. And if you'd like to support me more directly, please consider following me on Patreon. Links in the description. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in my next video.